Raon had spent 7 months trying to understand fire, sitting in front of the furnace owned by the blacksmith Valken. All this time, he kept visualizing the kind of fire he wanted to create. Suddenly, Raon remembered his grudge against Darius. He also remembered his desire to reverse his mother's fate. That's why the fire he envisioned was like a torch, one that could light the path forward, a fire that could be used as a weapon to defeat beasts, snow, and rain. It had to be a fire that never died out. Then, a stronger energy than usual flowed into Raon's body, forcing him to focus even harder to contain it. Just as he began to see the image in his mind clearly, the Wrath Spirit suddenly appeared inside his consciousness. Turns out, this was the moment the Wrath Spirit had been waiting for. It launched a direct attack on Raon, making him feel like his body was shattering into pieces and leaving him gasping for air. Raon desperately searched for a way to survive, but his consciousness started to fade. The Wrath Spirit mocked him, saying everything Raon had done was pointless, and that his body and soul now belonged to him. But Raon refused to give up. He fought back. He tried to absorb the natural mana heated by the furnace. The mana inside that furnace was far hotter and more powerful than ordinary fire, strong enough to devour everything. Seeing this, the Wrath Spirit began to panic and asked what Raon was doing. Raon answered, "I'm trying to survive." He was trying to directly absorb the surrounding energy. The fire in Valkan's furnace flared up dramatically, causing the blacksmith to turn toward Raon in alarm. Strangely, despite the heat, Valkan felt a chill near Raon. Concerned, he asked Raon if he was okay, noticing that he was shivering intensely. Just then, Rimmer appeared and told the blacksmith to leave Raon alone and not to touch him. At first, the blacksmith hesitated, but after Rimmer explained that Raon was in a spiritual state where even the slightest touch could cause him to cough up blood or die instantly, Valkan asked whether the cold aura Rimmer mentioned was really inside Raon's body, and if there was truly nothing they could do. Rimmer confirmed it was too dangerous to interfere and silently prayed that Raon wouldn't die. Meanwhile, Raon continued his struggle against the Wrath Spirit. The spirit told him to give up. There was no hope. But Raon wouldn't surrender. He had died once before, powerless. This time, he was determined to make sure it wouldn't happen again. The fire in the furnace kept growing stronger, to the point that the furnace itself could no longer contain the sudden surge in heat. Rimmer realized that Raon was absorbing mana directly from the furnace, as he sensed it gathering at a single point. Driven by determination, Raon finally reached the flame he had been searching for. A massive explosion erupted from the furnace. Rimmer panicked and asked if Raon was okay. To his relief, Raon was still standing, now cloaked in golden flames. Having survived the ordeal, Raon's stats increased after acquiring the 10,000 Flames technique. He felt confident that he could soon master it even further. Raon was amazed at all the blessings he had just received. Meanwhile, the Wrath Spirit was left speechless, shocked by how mentally strong Raon was, even after being pushed to the brink. Raon calmly said, "I told you, trying to break me is pointless." From that point on, Raon decided to stay alert and guard against the Wrath Spirit, working to cover any of his own weaknesses, so that the spirit couldn't exploit them again. Afterward, the blacksmith approached and asked if Raon was all right. Raon replied that he was fine. The blacksmith then asked if Raon had successfully obtained an aura. Raon confirmed that he had, and it was all thanks to the blacksmith. He also apologized for destroying the furnace during the process. The craftsman said it was no problem as long as Raon was okay. Besides, he could always make another furnace. Then the craftsman glanced over at his furnace and felt something was off, so he went to check it out. To his surprise, there was golden charcoal inside. This charcoal was stronger than white charcoal and lasted longer than black charcoal. Thanks to Raon, the craftsman had finally created the charcoal he had been dreaming of for decades. He thanked Raon, but Raon replied that he didn't do anything special. The craftsman then explained that while Raon was training, the fire in the furnace always flared intensely, and that was because of Raon's breath. The heat from the furnace had spread throughout the room, allowing the craftsman to finally produce the golden charcoal, all thanks to Raon. After explaining this, he asked Raon what his goal was and what kind of swordsman he wanted to become. With full confidence, Raon answered that he wanted to become a swordsman who never gives up, no matter the situation or the opponent. The craftsman said he didn't expect such an answer from a kid like Raon. He also told Raon that he'd be able to get his sword in about 3 to 5 years. Once Raon's resolve was fully set, the craftsman told him to come find him, because he would keep the golden charcoal just for Raon. Raon asked if that meant the craftsman would make a sword for him. Wasn't he already retired? The craftsman then said he would come out of retirement just to make Raon's sword in the future. He also told Raon to stay alive. Watching from above, Rimmer grew curious about what was going on. It turned out that Raon had successfully awakened his aura. Rimmer commented that Raon sure had a knack for making people worry. Apparently, the head of the family had been coming every day to check on Raon, concerned about his progress. Now that Raon had finally awakened his aura, the family could breathe a sigh of relief. The scene then shifts to the training ground. Runan was wondering when Raon would return. She also wanted to repay him for helping her before. Moments later, Raon appeared at the training hall entrance, and Runan immediately approached him. She encouraged Raon and handed him a marble ice cream, the same kind she had given him before. Runan noticed that Raon's aura now carried a colder, fresher, and stronger energy than before. Raon thanked her and took a bite of the ice cream. The Wrath Spirit was thrilled. It tasted amazing, and it had been ages since he last had one. He begged Raon to eat the rest, but Raon told Runan he'd only have one. Runan then asked if Raon was feeling better. He smiled and said he was. The next day, Rimmer gathered everyone and announced a special plan for the upcoming month. In 1 month, he would be holding one-on-one duels. The outcome of these battles would affect each student's graduation and determine their rankings. Martha then raised her hand and asked what would happen to students who had fallen behind and hadn't awakened their aura yet. Rimmer casually replied that every student had already awakened their aura. Martha was a bit shocked and asked when that happened. Rimmer responded that it was probably yesterday or today. He wasn't exactly sure. Martha immediately realized he was talking about Raon, as she turned to him and said that now she finally had the chance to fight him. She'd been dying of boredom from waiting too long. Martha then began provoking Raon, but he stayed silent, unfazed by her taunts. Burin arrived to stop her, but instead of backing down, Martha doubled down, comparing Raon to Burin and the other trainees. She then told Raon that he had been at the top for too long, and now it was time for him to give up that position. Martha proposed a wager. Whoever won their duel would take the top trainee spot. But Raon refused. There was nothing in it for him if all he did was risk his title. Hearing that made Martha laugh. She said Raon didn't understand his situation. He had no one backing him up. Raon responded by asking if she was scared. That only made Martha laugh harder, and she changed the terms of the bet. If Raon won, she would give him the 9 Flowers Elixir, a rare potion known to enhance both physical and mental strength. Finally, Raon agreed to the wager. A month passed, and it was time for Martha to seek her revenge. That duel would be her first rematch since the day she lost, her first ever defeat. The one-on-one sparring event was about to begin. Rimmer told the trainees to watch the fights carefully and think about how they'd handle similar situations. The first match was Burin versus Dorian. Before the match began, Dorian raised his hand. He wanted to forfeit due to not feeling well, but Rimmer told him to at least give it a shot. There was always something to learn, even in defeat. The match started, and Burin quickly secured an easy win. The next fight was Renan versus Crane. As soon as it began, Crane rushed forward to attack, but Renan blocked his strikes flawlessly, knocking his sword from his hands and winning the match with ease. Several other matches followed, and then it was time for the final fight. Raon versus Martha. Their battle was intense. Martha launched a relentless offense while Raon skillfully defended and counterattacked. Eventually, Martha unleashed her aura and resumed her assault. But Raon still held his ground, then struck back. Then came Raon's turn to release his aura. Martha was stunned. The flames weren't ordinary. She could sense they were dangerous. Realizing that, Martha got serious. They clashed once again, exchanging blows at full force. Their swords collided with such power that the ground cracked beneath them and strong winds burst out, blinding the spectators. Once the dust settled, everyone could see it. Martha had lost, her sword shattered. No one could believe it. Raon, who had only awakened his aura a month ago, had defeated Martha so completely. We then shift to the family head's residence. Rimmer reported to the head that Raon had beaten Martha. Even Rimmer was stunned. Martha had been training her aura for 4 years, yet she still lost so decisively to Raon. The family head told Rimmer to guide Raon carefully so he wouldn't grow overconfident. He then asked about Martha's condition. Rimmer said she was in shock, though her physical wounds were fully treated. But the real issue was psychological. This was her first official loss, and the emotional blow was deep. Next, we see Raon planting flowers. Wrath Spirit was grumbling, telling him to do it properly. That night, after Raon defeated Martha, his stats had increased once again. His Ring of Fire had reached 4 stars, and his water resistance had improved as well. Just as Raon finished planning, Martha showed up. Raon immediately asked what she wanted. Martha had come to challenge him again. Raon called her pathetic for not accepting her loss. But Martha said it wasn't that. She just couldn't understand why she lost. Raon then demanded the item she owed him from their previous bet. Since Raon refused her new challenge, Martha threatened to stomp on the flowers in his yard, saying she never expected Raon to be into gardening. Raon replied that he didn't actually like flowers. He was doing it for his mother. After that, Martha was about to head home, but suddenly Raon's mother appeared and asked who the friend with him was. She immediately recognized Martha because of her black hair and black eyes. Raon's mother seemed worried, likely because she had heard about their recent duel. She asked Martha why she had come. Martha replied that she just wanted to say something to Raon, and now that it was done, she was planning to leave. But Raon's mother gently grabbed Martha's hand and invited her to come inside for a meal. At first, Martha tried to refuse, but Raon's mother insisted, leaving Martha with no choice but to agree. Raon's mother prepared a delicious meal and began chatting with her during dinner. As Martha watched her, memories of her own mother came flooding back. After finishing the meal, Martha quietly left the house. On her way back, she kept thinking about how Raon's mother reminded her of her own, and that was why she couldn't bring herself to turn down the invitation. Ever since her mother was kidnapped, Martha had promised herself never to lose again, not until she could reunite with her. But now she had lost to Raon, and feared she might be cast out of her family. However, when she arrived home, she was surprised to receive a letter from her father. In it, he congratulated her on her first defeat and informed her that he was still searching for her mother. Martha went to her room, picked up a knife, and cut her hair short. She vowed to become stronger, to start over from scratch, and to finally let go of the pain from her past. This video ends here, but the story isn't over yet. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next part.